welcome back to episode 4 of Planet Zoo. And as you can tell, we have some birdie guests here again today who are very eager to be in the video this week. I have 4 budgies, so yeah, it can get quite loud in here sometimes. And wow, 4 episodes already. It just feels like the time flies by between these episodes now, and I'm really enjoying doing it with you. So thank you for all the people that keep tuning into my videos, and if you're new and just discovering my videos, welcome! I am very new to this game, so as you can see there, I did create a structure and then the shops didn't fit inside, so I decided, you know what, do the shops first and then you can work around it, because it all fits to a structure anyway. So you can see me here, I'm creating my first little restaurant bit in the zoo. I wanted to have this area just as you enter the park, so you know, if you haven't had breakfast or if you're arriving at lunchtime, then there's food outlets right there for you to go, grab something to eat and walk around the park, or go and take them and sit down somewhere. I will be creating a little benched area at the back for the guests to sit at, and you'll see me create that in a minute. But first you can see me here struggling with the roofs, trying to find one that would fit perfectly there. And I did, and I have no idea why that glitched to become so far away, but here we go. Just putting some fronts on the shops here, so it looks a lot nicer than just the standard front of the shop. It's actually a bit of a longer video for you guys today, because I'm not only creating this eating establishment area, I'm also creating an enclosure in this video. So I thought, you know, it would be kind of a short video if I only did the eating area, so I thought, you know what, why not just go all out, add a thank you birds, add a enclosure in here as well. But first you can see me here still struggling with these signs, trying to find ones that would fit. Yeah, the controls of the game are still quite new to me, but I feel I am getting a grasp of them a lot better. Like in this tight area here, when I first started the game, I feel like I would have just been going all over the place trying to get in here. And I just couldn't find a Cosmic Cow small logo to put on there. I just don't know why there isn't one in the game when literally every single one has one. But here I just put one of the ice cream ones there because it was the ice cream store. And with the last one there, the pizza pen, that's all of them in there. I'm just checking to make sure it looks good and is still accessible to the guests, which yes it is. And you can see me here just trying to figure out the paths, trying to make them more square, but it just wasn't working for me, so I just decided to extend it a little bit more just to make it, give it a bit more room for the benches that I will be adding later on. But first you can see me here adding a bit of a wall trim to the outside, but I thought this was way too big. So you'll see me change that in a moment to one that's smaller, which you can see over. The birds really want to be in this video this week. Thank you, birds. Here I'm just adding in the actual picnic benches, and I'm so confused why that was obstructed there, because I do have the obstructions turned off in the settings, so I was just very confused why it wouldn't let me place it there. But I found a way that made it look nice anyway, so I just placed them like that. The guests can access them all. I did test it out with guests on later. And here you can just see me adding some shade to 3 of the benches, because I know some of you might like to be sat out in the sun whilst you're eating your dinner, but some people like me who burn easily in the sun, which in this British weather recently, oh my goodness, it's been so hot. Yeah, we like shade, so I just added some shaded ones for people like me who don't like the sun, can sit at. I'm also here just adding some more foliage around, adding some trees, just to make sure that it's all, you know, got some natural shading, and it just looks better, doesn't it? Having lots of trees around makes it, especially in a zoo, makes it look and feel more natural and nice, especially for all the animals. And here you can just see me adding some decoration now, because just a plain wooden building, just, you know, I wanted to add that little bit more of an elevation. As I said in a previous video, I'm not going for complete detail in this park because it's my first park and I'm still getting used to the game, but I still want some level of detail to be added, just for my own sake. I love detail with things. So you can see me here just adding some bushes around and giving the area more of a nice natural feel, less of just a plain flat entryway. I will be adding something into that square I've made there later on in the video that you'll see. Thank you, birds. And here I'm just looking at what I can use for some more detail, because I still feel like it looks that little bit plain. So I'm just adding a couple more bits of detail like that pail and these flowers in a basket, which I think, oh, they're so cute. I think I'll definitely be making some more details with them eventually. And here I find this, I'm not quite sure what it is, it's just like a metal decoration. I thought that would be perfect, just to add that little bit of something that was missing, and I add it along the sides as well, trying to make it fit all nice there. And there we go, that's our... So now it's time for me to create the path for the enclosure, which will be actually going over the enclosure. I am inspired by a zoo I went to called Mundo Mart for this part. They have a... Sorry, my birds are just on it today. In Mundo Mart, they have a part where you can walk over the animals just at the entrance, so I thought, you know what, I really liked it at that park, so I'm just gonna take a bit of inspiration. And why not? I mean, that's what this whole beginning park is about. It's me finding my way through this game, through this park, finding what I like, finding what I don't like, and adding it in. So if I have inspiration from real life parks, I mean, I feel like I'm allowed to, because they are successful, they're working, and that's ultimately what I want this park to be like. So you can see me here just extending the enclosure a little bit and adding a little pond, which I will extend that as well, because I'm going to be splitting this area into 3 different enclosures, 1 big enclosure and 2 smaller enclosures. So that's why you might be looking at this area and thinking, geez, that's quite big. It's because there will be 3 different species in there eventually, and we are adding one of them species in today in this video. So once again, that's why this video is quite long. So here I am adding a way for the keepers to get to the actual enclosure itself. And I did struggle a lot here with getting this pathway to be able to link properly. But I'm very impressed with myself how I managed to do it in the end, because obviously the keepers needed a way to get in there, so I added this backstage area. You can see me here just adding in a chain fence that will separate the middle down there underneath the walkway, so you can't see it. So there's more of a focus on the animals, and adding a divider here that will separate the animals. There you go, you can see me adding it here and connecting it to the fence. I do add in some null barriers here, which I do have a lot more knowledge of this time around. The first time I used them in the Red Panda exhibit, the experience was a little shaky. The red pandas could... Thank you, birds. The red pandas could escape in some places, so I had to go around and fix that, and it was all just very complicated for my first ever enclosure, but I feel like throwing myself into the deep end a little bit there did help in a way. So you can see me here just trying to add in where the keepers will get to the enclosure and just adding the path around there. So it's all linked up, there we go. And you see me here just adding in a bit of a staircase for where the keepers will be able to get down to the animals. And there we go, that's all done there now. You can see me here just figuring out which enclosure is which and adding in another area here for the keepers to get in. And I was debating creating a large tunnel going around, but then I thought, you know what, let's just add a second keeper area. You'll see me doing that later on in the video. Once again here, struggling with the paths. And I thought, you know what, just having a keeper area, thank you birds, closer to that side of the enclosure would make it a lot easier and a lot quicker if the animal over there is sick or needs help. It speeds up the process a little bit there. And here I am just starting to add in some of the rock work that will be framing the outside of the enclosures, just to give it a more rugged, natural look. I have created some archways that fit perfectly over the doors, so the keepers' entrances, gates, whatever they're called, are hidden a little bit within the walls, but they're still accessible fully, which is something that I really wanted, and I feel like I achieved that really well. And you can see me here just adding in some of the other rocks around the outside, just adding in the same ones over and over, tilting them a little bit to look different. I don't know if this is how other people do it in Planet Zoo. As you know, I am still learning. This is my second ever enclosure being built, so I'm just still trying to get grasps of how to add detailing into this game. And here you can see me start to extend it upwards a little bit, just so there is some differentiating levels within the enclosure walls, because I feel like it just adds that more of a natural look. And it means I can add something later on, maybe like a waterfall, or maybe some trees growing out of the rocks, for the animals to, you know, be shaded. It just depends on what the animal needs that will be in that part of the enclosure. And from a guest point of view, it blocks off a little bit of the sight line from the beginning pathway where you first enter the park, and I sort of wanted that a little bit so you don't have this sense of emptiness in the park. You look forward and you see, oh, there's a massive wall of rocks there, I wonder what's, you know, through there. So that's why I've added this more of a raised part to the rock work here. And now you can see me start to add in that secondary staff area where the keepers and mechanics will be hanging around that will access this side of the enclosures. So you can see me just adding in the buildings here. They don't align to the paths, but that's okay because I know I can move them eventually, so they can add to the paths. But I'm just adding the buildings that I know that will be needed over here, and adding a bit of a rocky facade onto them because, you know, I feel like it will fit into the theme of the enclosure a little bit more if I add some of the natural rock looking part to the buildings, because I feel like just having a brick building over here wouldn't match at all. So if the guests do manage to see over here, it will look a lot more cohesive with the enclosure that it's linked to. Here you can see me just figuring out the path and making sure there's a way that the staff can actually get to the path. I do change that a little bit because I do realise I created it a bit too long, and you never know what I might be adding around there in the future. I might be adding a new enclosure around there. Once again here, struggling with the paths. I cannot wait for the new path system in Planet Zoo 2. I'm so excited for that. If anyone saw the deep dive, well, you know it's going to be great. Here I'm just terraforming a little bit, adding some hills and some differentiation into the enclosures, and adding some sand to the bottom of the pond lake bit there, just to make it look a lot nicer. And I do change it to be tropical water that's a little bit clearer and a lot nicer to look at than the default water. You can see me there just having a look and fiddling around with it a bit and starting to add in some of the details. And I can see at the top there that the staff notification is constantly pinging that it's without power. And I'm like, what? Okay, I didn't realise that the sandbox mode needed to have power facilities, but there we go. I add them in here. And then I realised that the water pump that I put in actually gets nowhere near the water that I needed it to be filtering, so I moved it over towards the back of the staff area here. And I just link it round there. There we go. Here I am just adding in some of the staff members that will be keeping and patrolling in this area, and you can see me here just struggling with the barriers because obviously they're behind the rocks, so I just thought, you know what, just add it to that whole enclosure area. It'll make it a lot easier, so if they're in whichever area they're in, they can access that enclosure. And here I'm actually adding some details onto the path, like some sunblock, some shading. I will be adding in some benches, and obviously the education, like the TVs and the speakers, I will be adding them later on. You can see me here just looking through, figuring out which roof I wanted to add, and I thought, you know what, that thatch roof looked really nice, so I'm just figuring out which one I actually wanted to use, and I decided to go with this one, and I moved the poles to fit in with it a bit more because I moved them way too far out. I figured, there we go, I had 2 of them there just to add that larger area of shading, because I know that as somebody who struggles in the heat, I would want something like that to accommodate in the park, and that's what I want for my park. I want to be accommodating to not only the animals but to the guests as well. You can see me here adding in a second one that I just move around a little bit towards the starting of the pathway there. So there are gaps for people to stand out in the sun, but there's also plenty of area for shading for those that may need it. And here I'm just looking for what bench I would like to add in, and I just decided, you know, this one looks quite nice. The ones that I've been using inside the building, it adds a bit of tie-in from the inside of the building to the outside, and I think I might be using those benches quite a lot around the park, just because I like the look of them, and I feel, you know, parks in real life, if they want benches, they'll bulk buy sort of thing. And here you can see me just looking at some of the pack pits that I haven't bought. I have bought the newest pack, the Africa pack, to have the meerkats, and I know that will be, after I finish this area, the meerkats will be the next enclosure I'm doing, so look forward to that video in the future. It might be 1 or 2 videos away yet, because I still have 2 enclosures to do after this video, but oh, I cannot wait to do the meerkats, as they are probably my favourite part to any zoo wildlife park that I go to. And here I am starting on my enrichment items for the enclosure, and I really struggled with this because it's one of the major needs that this animal needs, and it didn't really fit, so I looked around to see if it would fit in the other side, and it didn't, so I just thought I'll leave it there, see if I can move the terrain around it a bit. But the terrain tools are funny if you've got water in, so you can see me just moving this around a little bit more just to give that area a bit of a bigger area. So there we go, I have changed the barriers around a little bit, and that means moving around some of the lily pads that I added in previously. It just gives this first animal a lot more room because I know that they need it. Trust me, me talking from the future, I didn't realise how much space this animal would need, because this animal needs a lot of social. A lot of them need to be in the same enclosure, so you can see me just adding in some more of the enrichment items here that they will be playing with eventually. Now I'm just adding in their feeding and water stations. There we go. And adding in some of the terrain and foliage, which I didn't realise that this animal actually doesn't need a whole lot of nature in their enclosure, so I actually add too much during this, but I find that quite sad because the area did look really nice in the end. See me here just adding, I really like adding the bamboo, the top of the bamboo, as bushes. I feel like it looks really nice, as well as this apple bush here, I think it is, apple tree. Once again, just adding some of the rocks around here just to frame it, because it just looked like it was hanging over the edge of the water there, and I didn't really like the look of that. So I'm using some of the mossy rocks because I figured if the water is lapping up against that every day, it will cause some moss. So you can see me just adding that in here. I'm just overlooking here, seeing what else I can add. And oh gosh, bit of a jump there to us actually adding the animals. So if you haven't guessed yet what animal will be going in here, you will see in just a moment as our keepers. And who are they? The vets bring them over. And welcome to the flamingos. Oh, look at the flamingos. I wanted to add in the flamingos because they are just so funny in real life. I've grown a real appreciation for flamingos at Bird World and Twycross Zoo. If you've seen them videos, they are just the most quirky animals that I've seen. And I just thought, you know what, let's add them into the beginning of the park, because I know that I would actually spend a lot of time overlooking the flamingos, because we do that in real life as well. We stand at the barriers and look over the flamingos for quite a long time. Yeah, that keeper is exactly how I feel when I see them. So here I'm just overlooking them, just being in awe at how cute they are. I mean, isn't this game just amazing for detail with the animals? My birds agree. They love to squawk when I'm talking. They think I'm talking to them. They're sat at the front of their cage right now. Geez, they're really on it, aren't they? So I originally bought 6 flamingos, I thought it was, and I kept getting a notification that the flamingos were stressed, and I was like, why are they stressed? And it was because their social group was too low, and I was like, there's 6 of you, what do you mean it's too low? As an introvert and someone who hates large crowds, I was like, being with 1 or 2 of you is enough for me. So I do actually extend the flamingo area across into the left side, not where the concrete wall is, I extend where the chain wall is, over there. I don't do it on video just because I thought, you know, you've had 20 minutes of looking at this anyway. It's all the same process, and I theme it the same way. So you'll see it at the end when I do my little cinematic bit, which I find really, really fun to do. And you will notice that there are a hell of a lot more flamingos in that cinematic, because even just doing the little bits detailing and admin, you would call it, they kept breeding and having babies, so there are loads of them now. So that brings us to the end of the video. Thank you for watching, and goodbye!